What do you need to create darker vibe, textures and evolving sounds? The experimentation with stock plugins and a handful of tools like echoes, resonator, frequency shifter, LFO and envelope follower goes on. And to be honest, I'm not the biggest fan of using loops for making music, simply because I always have the feeling that it limits my creativity and workflow somehow, because the sound is already there and so on, right? But for this week's video, I want to follow up the approach from last week. If you haven't seen that, maybe go back and watch it. I want to limit myself using basically samples and loops and see what I can get out of them with simple tools like Ableton stock plugins, again with echoes, grain delay, maybe a frequency shifter, resonator and so on, right? And the idea was to create some kind of evolving, usable texture sounds that are a little bit darker. And my idea was also to not use basically a synthesizer as a sound source, but rather I would use samples and loops, right? So I wanted to kind of crush some limiting beliefs that I have, which are not using loops at all or whatever. Of course, sometimes I use loops. We will see some examples if it works or not. And again, I was inspired by someone called Delia Derbyshire, a woman from UK, I guess, and she used some found sounds to create electronic music. But the thing is, the catch is that she did this in the 1960s, where no computers were around, no synthesizer, nothing, but it sounded crazy for that time, right? She used basically just some tape machines, pitching up, pitching down, and stitched the tapes together to create some sounds. And I thought, okay, why not using some sounds that I can find on my computer that are lying around, samples from sample packs, whatever, and then smack some Ableton Live stock plugin effects on it, and then see how far I can come, right? Now, why is this important at all? Now, first, I think to actually show you that you can basically make music out of anything, because there is sound around us everywhere, right? So we basically have no excuses. If you don't have a synthesizer, if you don't have plugins, just grab your phone and maybe record something. I mean, if Delia Derbyshire was able to make amazing art in the 1960s without a computer, without a synthesizer, and with just some tape machines, then we should be able to replicate that in 2022, right? With computers, with DAW and whatnot. But the problem that we have today is, I think we have too many tools. So actually, this video is also helpful, I would say, because it has limitation built in. So I have the thought that limitation actually enhances creativity. I'm sure you heard about that. Now, a texture, a bassline like we did the last time, is nothing with a good sounding kick. And as always, I want to mention my soft but snappy Ro Minimal Ableton Live kick template. It's an awesome tool, so you basically don't need to search for the right or correct sample anymore. Simply smack that kick template in the MIDI channel and then start tweaking to your liking, to your taste, and it gets you quickly a kick running without a lot of effort, right? Now let's jump over to Ableton Live and see what I came up with. Simple tools and some kind of found sounds, samples, loops, whatever, and if I came up with something worth using in a track, right? And keep in mind something that I want to mention. Oftentimes people ask, okay, what are the best tools for X, Y, and Z? I think the best tools are the tools, I know it sounds cheesy, but the tools that you know how they work, and also the tools that you like to use. If it's analog, if it's modular, if it's plugins, if it's stock plugins in Ableton, doesn't really matter. If it's sampling, running around with the field recorder and recording a bird, whatever it is, it's okay, right? As long as it gets you results and you enjoy the process of it and satisfies you, go with that. There is no need for using my technique. It's just an advice buffet. You pick what you like and then you run with your version out of it. Now let's jump over to Ableton Live and see what I came up. Okay, so the first thing is I use a loop from a sample library, and I used yeah, kind of for an inspiration, and used MIDI to melody function inside Ableton Live, right? So I extract the MIDI notes, and we get the really basic, unimpressive sound out of this. Let's see if we can adjust some MIDI notes to make it a little bit more, yeah, interesting or appealing sounding. Let's experiment with some delays and echoes maybe. Let's duplicate that. Yeah, now let's see if I can find maybe, yeah, better sample maybe, or a loop even, and adjust it a little bit so we get a kind of a similar sound to the loop that we just used. Customize it a little bit to our own taste. Let's change the polyphonic so we don't have too many overlaps in sounds. Maybe slice it so different notes in pitch play different, yeah, slices, right? It's a little bit too bright. Let's pitch it a little bit. Let's just compare it to the, yeah, our reference, kind of our inspiration loop, but it's still too bright, right? So let's see if we can make it a little bit more darker sounding, but just to show you that it's possible. Yeah, maybe let's use a resonator, and using the envelope follower to make it a little bit more dynamic sounding, and yeah, also experiment with some darker vibes maybe somehow. Let's try just adding some random or map some random parameters to the envelope follower, and then let's see how far we can get with this. So basically the audio triggers the parameters, right? Kind of. Let's quickly duplicate that so we can create another version out of this, maybe some kind of interacting thing, maybe, I don't know yet. Change the sample maybe. Let's slice it up. Let's add some effects to it. Maybe grain delay and an echo in this case, also a frequency shifter. And now, yeah, let's use some LFOs to control some parameters to make it, yeah, a little bit more darker vibe-ish maybe. Something like that, right? Already sounds different as opposed to the other sound that we have. Not as happy anymore, I would say. So let's record that quickly and let's live tweak some parameters. Some nice effect sounds and stuff. Basically, kind of custom, right? But it's basically from a sample. But the sample actually, yeah, you can't really say that it's from this specific sound, right? So it's really our very own taste part on the sample. Let's make another live recording or tweaking. Let's call it that way. Yeah, something like that, right? We could, yeah, just experiment, and hopefully this inspires you already. Now, instead of using the MIDI files or notes, let's use a sequencer. A little bit too loud here, but let's see what we can come up with. Just testing some parameter changes here and there, and see what I could possibly use to yeah, assign it to an LFO so it does it automatically, so I don't need it to do by hand. And I like to use the random waveform for that, maybe a little bit, yeah. In context, how we possibly could work inside the track, just some examples, some tweaking. Something like that, maybe. I hope this gives you already some inspiration to adapt this technique or this strategy a little bit to come up with your very own texture sounds. Now let's see if we can use a different audio source again. Why not using a drum loop? A drum loop, right? And see how we can change it up, or what's the sound that we end up with. I'm really curious. Can we create a kind of a texture out of this, out of a drum loop? That could work maybe for some, yeah, background effects, textures. Maybe we could even record it and then pitch it down a little bit. Just some ideas, or yeah, it almost sounds like someone is talking, like an alien talk or something like that. Let's make a quick A/B with all the effects bypassed. So this is the simple drum loop, pitched a little bit, I guess. No, it's filtered, sorry. And then just sliced it up, right? And now with all the effects on it. Just some ideas how we possibly could use found sounds in the end for creating different kind of sounds, textures, abstract sounds, whatever you like, right? Without touching a synthesizer or whatever. Yeah, I hope this gives you some ideas. Yeah, I'm not sure about this birdie high pitched sound yet, but I can certainly work with that and tweak it a little bit more and stuff. And I have already some ideas. and yeah, maybe even just pitching it down, or using a high pass, no, a low pass filter, and then go with that. So the top end is not that birchy anymore, but yeah, I think it still works. Could test it out in a track. Just some thoughts that I want to share with you. Um, that you don't necessarily need to use a synthesizer every time. So basically, you can just use every sound that slips into your fingers and mangle it with some Ableton Live stock plugins. So yeah, that's it for this week's video. Thanks again for your time. Hope to see you next week. Cheers.